to Emerging Motherhood. In this episode, we're gonna dive a little deeper into the Ballerina Farm controversy. We're gonna draw some parallels between Hannah Neeleman of the Ballerina Farm and the Plath family from the show Welcome to Plathville. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It's on HBO Max or TLC. It follows a family that, I mean, pretty much it's Ballerina Farm, but fast forward 25 years, there's new episodes now, so I'm like catching up. I fucking love this show. I caught it on accident. I was watching Sister Wives because I just love these fucking culty shows. Thank you for all the comments on the last video. There was one comment specifically that I wanted to respond to. It said, I love your content, but I don't know about the birth thing. A woman's body is designed to give birth. She looks like she did fine. If you look at when a girl gets her period, that's when she can get pregnant. Been happening since beginning of time. So that comment is so problematic because, you know, some girls now are getting their periods around 8 or 9. Just because a woman's menstruating does not mean she's ready to give birth. That comment is, you know, I appreciate the respect in the comment, but no, a woman, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Like extreme eaters, just because you can eat 60 pounds of hot dogs in one sitting doesn't mean you should. Kobayashi from the Nathan's hot dog thing, he's talking about how like broken he feels his body is from pushing it to the limits. And then another said, if you feel comfortable, can you make a video discussing appearance and how it relates to body image after having so many children? Are you expected to bounce back quickly, lose the weight, and look absolutely perfect? Girl, yes. And I think that's why Ballerina Farm was doing the pageants and stuff, because there is pressure to be perfect. I used to wrap myself with those things that the Kardashians used to push, the body shaper things that for after pregnancy. I forget what they're called, but they're horrible. They feel like torture devices. It does fuck with your body image because you are kind of like, do I have worth outside of my beauty? When you've been kind of traditionally pretty your whole life and you think you found someone that loves you for who you are, but then they put this pressure on you to still look beautiful, it is quite a mind fuck. So let's dive a little bit deeper into Ballerina Farm, the Plath family, who is like a look into the future for Ballerina Farm for Hannah Neeleman. Let's go. Okay, so we have Hannah Neeleman, the Neeleman family. They have 8 children. And then we have the Plath family. And the Plath family has 9 kids. The Plath family lives on a farm in Cairo, Georgia, or they started out living on a farm in Cairo, Georgia. I don't remember how big, but it's fucking huge. They have 9 children. The mom likes to cook and clean and stay home. She's basically Hannah Neeleman, the Neeleman family, just fast forward 24 years because she's been married now 24 years. And at 24 years married, she starts to say some things and starts to realize her life is not exactly what she wants it to be, regardless of how beautiful, you know, that farm trad wife life may seem in the beginning. So let's just start off talking about some of the children, because I feel like a lot of people go into the trad wife life thinking this is going to be the best life for my children. This is the best thing I can do for my children. And if I live this life, my children are going to grow up to be amazing adults with a perfect life and never have to face any problems, kind of. And that's exactly not true, because Ethan, who's their eldest son, he eventually gets divorced. If you watch the whole show and you watch it, you know, to where it's at now, he's divorced. So all the hard work and courting and keeping them pure and all that, and for what? He ends up divorced. He says that growing up, we don't deal with emotions, we stuff them down. So it seems like just from that comment alone from one of the oldest kids, the point of having those big kids is not about having a loving family where we all come together. It's about collecting Pokemon and having enough people on the farm to do what you need them to do. Have enough older kids to take care of all the younger kids, because we don't deal with family. We don't deal with feelings. We stuff them all down. That's not something we do. Everything they did to try to keep their kids pure. Ethan tries drugs, he tries weed, he drinks. He is probably the most straight-laced, one of the more like straight-laced, like definitely held on to the morals and values of his family, but you can see the struggle. And then Ethan is married to Olivia. I love Olivia on the show. So she grew up in a similar family, same thing, tons of kids, mom stayed home, all that jazz that Hannah Neeleman and Ballerina Farm and the trad wife life is making sound so awesome. And Olivia says she watched her mom do everything for her dad, give everything to him, put all her desires and needs to the side. And at 50 years old, she saw her mom say, what have I been doing with my life? Like, what am I doing? And her mom kind of started to wake up. When you actually dive into these communities, you see how broken and dysfunctional all these families are. This family structure of the trad wife does not provide you security from a dysfunctional family. It just gives you a very different type of dysfunction. but it's not protection from it at all. Another thing with Olivia that makes me really sad that you can see with Olivia's family, Ethan's family, my family, anyone that I've known that's lived the trad wife life, there becomes such dysfunction that you end up like the kids don't end up having good sibling relationships. Like Olivia doesn't talk to any of her siblings. I don't know what that's about. On the show, you can see Ethan has like very hot and cold relationships with his siblings. There's many times where Ethan's not talking to somebody, his siblings aren't talking to them. There's so much coldness and hold the line in these families. And then outside of the children that do follow what you want them to do, like Ethan followed everything that they wanted him to do, and he married Olivia, a girl just like him from a family just like him. But then we have Mariah, and she's always been a fucking rebel. Always, since she was teeny tiny. She's always like pushed the limit, been trying to wear different clothes. I think it just goes to show, no matter, when you have these big families and you isolate them on the farm like that and you try to raise them in these ways, you cannot fully brainwash someone. Looking at all these children and looking at the family structure and kind of what the goal is, when you look at Mariah, you can see how this plan of attack for approaching a family it has so many faults in it. A lot of people think you can have children and birth them, and what they're gonna be is just a direct like clone of you, your thoughts, your ideas, and you're gonna get to just like stuff that all in their brain and send them off into the world. But that's like not how people are. That's not how people function. That's not how people learn and grow. And Mariah is a perfect example of that. As soon as she can, she's covering her body in tattoos. She's drinking. Pretty sure she has sex because, yeah, she's even on birth control. So the minute she gets into a relationship, all of the morals and values that they taught her are out the window, you know? Another thing with Mariah that is like blatantly obvious is they clearly never let these kids go through that typical phase when you're teen, tween, young kid, where you start exploring with your identity and you explore with the different styles you like. Like everybody has a phase where they were maybe a little bit emo, maybe a little bit dark, maybe a little bit preppy, maybe a little bit sporty, but we all had like, you know, you can look through your childhood years and look at all the different phases of styles that you were, but these kids weren't allowed that. None of these children in these trad wife families are allowed those freedoms. So they're very, very, very restricted as they grow up. So then they start going through like the awkward teen phase as young adults. And Mariah even says, the way I was raised makes me feel like I missed out. She's like directly talking about growing up so isolated on a farm. That made me feel like I missed out. And now we see Mariah covered in all these like, you're really fucking edgy tattoos because she's 22. But you know, how is she gonna feel about rebel and all these like tattoos all over your body that I'm pretty sure as she ages, she will at least question the tattoos. I mean, they are something, and they're everywhere all over her body. Maybe she doesn't regret them, but all I'm saying is I'm sure the parents, when they were having her on that little fucking farm and homeschooling her and giving her home-baked food and all that shit, they were hoping that she would look a little bit different. You know, they were hoping that maybe she wouldn't do that. And they say that all the time in the whole show, how judged they feel their whole life. And then it's funny that the minute they get an ounce of freedom, they do everything that you are judging them for. Now, Micah, that's another one of the oldest kids. Micah, the second oldest son, he says, one of his quotes from the show is, I always felt like my parents were perfect, so I always felt so much disapproval because I wasn't perfect. Because of that, there was never the environment of, well, just talk to me. I'm not gonna judge you. So again, no matter which kid you want to look at, you can see the pitfalls of trying to raise your children in this isolated community where you can like just brainwash them and stuff shit down their throat. It's not really going to work. It's going to backfire in weird ways that you didn't even think possible. And then you don't even have the loving, deep relationships with your children that you wanted. Micah is also one of the wildest ones. He's the one that's like going to strip clubs. He's like having sex with different girls every night. No fucking problem. And the thing is, all the kids will talk about like, oh yeah, growing up, this is what we were taught. We had no exposure to anything different at all. Like this was our shit. But deep inside, I was like, nah, that's not gonna work for me. Isaac, the other little boy, he talks about like when mom and dad talk about sex or girls or abstinence or whatever the fuck they talk about, the kids are like, yeah, okay, sure. You cannot make someone be what you want them to be. They're gonna be whatever the fuck they wanna be. And these kids are proof of that. For all the strict religious growing up, they ask him on the show, would you be open to dating a trans person? And he's like, yet to be seen. Micah also at times expresses like regret. I mean, like ultimately it's a journey and you can tell it's a journey, and they go back and forth between feeling like they liked it, feeling like they didn't. You know, you can see these kids are like They're going through all the things you process and feel as a kid, as young adults. And I think ultimately they always get drawn back to the family unit because of how toxic it is. Now let's talk about the mom, because you can see from the children, you can see in all of their lives, in all of the decisions that they've made, there's not much that they held on to from their childhood that they're like, yes, I'm gonna live in that way. They all have strayed, made their own decisions, and you know, like the Amish Rumspringa, they have like gone out into the world and fucking experienced drugs, sex, tattoos, you know, LGBTQ. They're all up in it. They were like, what have I been missing and how can I catch up as fast as possible? So there's that. But now let's talk about Kim, the mom, the Hannah Neeleman of this family, the Ballerina Farm, because this is wild because she has such a close like parallel to Hannah Neeleman as well. Kim was a dancer in college and she also talks about how she missed it. And she also had 9 children kind of back to back to back to back. And she says kind of towards the end, she starts to buy a dance studio because she's starting to dig a little deeper. And she says the crux for this kind of awakening was one of the first times that her husband took all the kids and she was alone for a little bit. The older kids were, you know, getting older, but he took all the kids with him somewhere and they were gone for like a week. And she had time to herself to think. And she was like, huh. And started to, you know, because you can't avoid yourself. You can't avoid your own thoughts and everything that's going on inside your own heart. She has a comment that really struck me. She says, I'm enjoying being in my body. Because to me, that is as a woman who's had 4 children, that is a statement. Because when you're pregnant or nursing, you can't take medicine, you can't eat certain foods, like this boar's head listeria outbreak. That's why women are told don't eat cold cuts when you're pregnant, because if a pregnant woman gets listeria, you're in big trouble. The baby's in big trouble. It's a bad thing. So to say I'm enjoying being in my body, like that is a real feeling. I still have moments of like, oh, I can take ibuprofen. I don't have to think about anything, because when you're just so used to this isn't my body. This is an incubator for babies. I have to make sure the baby is okay. The baby. It's not even your body. And then she says, all I know is I've been a mom and I've been a wife and now it's time to be me. This is what I keep saying. You cannot run away from yourself. You can't run away from life, from these feelings that are fucking human nature. Nobody was built to just be a servant and just give and give and give and give and give, and that's going to satisfy you your whole life. That's just not how it is. That's not human nature. No one was put on this earth to just serve other people and have no desires for themselves. That's a fucking robot. Now, Kim says some really fucking eye-opening shit, and I just want to read some of her quotes because she says, she wrote in her own journal, she decides like, she's really digging deep and trying to like express what she's feeling to everybody. And she says, in her own journal, I feel sick to my stomach, unsettled. My heart aches for something more. Because no matter how many different ways somebody tries to sell you that cooking someone else's favorite food and raising a bunch of kids, even if they're your kids, they still drain you in a way that is unfucking natural. Kim says, for the last 10 to 20 years, I've been nose down, focused on raising children and doing all the things we need to do for the household, and especially the way we decided to parent our children on the farm, exactly like Hannah Neeleman. I was pretty much always in the home, always pregnant and or nursing, homeschooling, trying to keep everybody fed, and it was my choice. But now they're growing and moving on with their lives, and I'm kind of coming to a place where I'm realizing, okay, what does life look like? What do I want life to look like with no children at home? What do I want my life to look like? Period. Just because it looks pretty and you're making it look pretty and you're presenting it pretty for social media does not mean that it's really pretty deep down inside and what's really going on. She says, I'm just rethinking everything. I feel dead inside, lonely, isolated, disconnected. And then here's the real fucking shitty part. When she finally tells her husband that she wants to get a divorce and she's tired of this and all that, all 24 years she was dedicated to this family, what happens to her? She's the one sleeping on the couch. She's the one living like a fucking homeless person out of a backpack, bouncing between the Airbnbs. So you gave your everything to this family and you start expressing that you don't feel good and you need some changes. Nobody fucking moves. You're the one that has to start doing shit for your life. At some point, you have to start making moves for your own life. And she even says, I never thought it would be like this. It's very different than how I ever thought it would be. And then it's funny because the producers of the show ask her that at one time, and they even fucking show the clip. She says, before marriage, look with eyes wide open beforehand. And then afterwards, eyes half shut. You're in and that's what you signed up for. So everybody goes in with this idea of like, this is forever. I'm going to do this. I got this. I can really like hunker down and get it done. No, you can't. Human nature is going to take over. There's something inside you is going to start to yearn for more. And either you stuff it down and stay and literally just die inside and you're a shell of a person, or you realize, fuck, and you have to start making some changes in your life. Barry, her husband, this is the one that I think is so fucking funny, because he told the kids before she got to be there and tell the kids too, which I feel like is a bit shitty. This is a decision that you guys are kind of making as a family, and then you kind of go and tell the kids before anybody while you're still in the big cushy house. Oh, it's so sad. I don't understand. You know, Barry, at one point when Kim is trying to talk to him and express to him what she's feeling and you know, why she's in this place, he literally looks at her and says, "Why are you being so selfish?" So just because she wants a little bit of happiness, she wants something that she's into, he calls her selfish because of that. And then he says, "I'll be patient. I'll play the long game." Like, they just expect you to get over it. She'll get over it. She'll get over it. I know that she'll get over it. This isn't a big deal. On average, women attempt to leave relationships at least 7 times. So who knows how many times she's been like, "I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not happy." And he's like, "I'll just wait. I can be patient. She'll get over it." And what's also shitty about Barry and like when these relationships end is that because you as the mother have raised the children in this structure and they believe that the dad is the ultimate authority, the mom is the homemaker, in the divorce process, all the kids are kind of siding with Barry. They're kind of giving him so much grace and they're like, "Oh my gosh." And one of the little girls, her little girls, because she's got the adult kids and then she's got like 3 little girls that they still have custody that they have to like share or whatever. One of the little girls says, "Well, if you're the one that wants a divorce, why don't you leave the house?" Like, none of those kids, after all that woman did for those kids, none of them are really rushing to be like, "Oh, mom." Now, in the Plath family, there's many reasons for that, because I don't think Kim is some great, amazing mom. I definitely think, you know, she's got her manipulation and she probably has some major fucking control issues. But also, like, putting all that aside, I'm just saying you structure your life in this way, hoping to get some sort of respect and love because you're pouring everything out into your family for 24 years to the point where you're exhausted and drained. And then in the end, your kids don't even fucking defend you. They're like, "Yeah, sleep on the fucking couch. Go to the fucking Airbnb. We're going to be in the nice big farmhouse with dad. We don't give a fuck." Damn, that's gotta hurt. That fucking hurts. And then in the end, when she's finally like fully separated from Barry, and now the new episodes we see, this bitch is living in a fucking broke down houseboat on a marina, showering in a public bathroom. All the money they had, all the businesses they had, all the properties they had, everything she gave to the family. I don't know all the fucking, and I'm sure their divorce isn't fully final. You don't know the full shakedown of what she got, but I'm just saying in the process, it's not like there was a ton of fucking respect for her for everything she gave the family. Do you know what I mean? Because nobody's giving all that just for nothing, just because you just feel like, oh, it wasn't just fun, clearly. That's why she's trying to leave the fucking life. And the way that the kids fucking throw it back at her too, because Lydia, one of the older girls, says, everything that she's doing goes against everything that she's taught me. So you taught your kids this one way. You told them divorce is never an option. Mommy and daddy are forever, blah, blah, blah. And that's not really true. You couldn't do that. And now your children are so confused. And, you know, it's like their whole belief system has crumbled and fallen. And now they're adults and have to like, what? Start from scratch. Start from fucking scratch. They don't even have like their basic foundations of life that they can believe in anymore because you built them on all these fucking lies that eventually came crumbling down. It's just funny because if you look at the Plath family and you look at the Neeleman family, you can fucking see the parallels real easy. It's on a farm because Hannah Neeleman is nothing fucking special. There's nothing like, it's just that she posts her shit to social media and she does it in a way where she has this big team of people. But the trad wife life is pretty fucking miserable. It's not fun at all. And it's nothing fucking new. This is what women have been doing since the 1800s. We know now there's no need to have that many children. There's no need to isolate like that. And when you do, you know, I know that the Bible says be in the world, but not of the world. But they're not even being in the world. They're being so fucking out of the world that they look fucking weird. You know, their children have to assimilate later at it. You know, your children are going to do all the same shit, But now they're going to do it as an adult, and people are looking at them thinking they have some fucking common sense because, well, you're an adult, but they don't have any fucking common sense. I just feel like you're setting your children up for such a worse fucking failure than if you just let them kind of be exposed to the world that they live in an age appropriate way, like most fucking people do, and let your kids just grow up in the world that we live in. So putting aside the Ballerina family and the Plath family, just looking at the trad wife life, because there are so many examples of how beautiful it is. Ballerina Farm, Nora Smith, there's a million of them. And there are plenty of women online that are talking about how much that life sucked and how much they didn't like it. We could just look at the trad wife life. And like, let's break that down, because trad wife just sounds really cute, and trad wife life is just, it's just a cute little hashtag that Hannah Neeleman herself doesn't even own. She's not even the one who like pushes that. That's just what like her followers, like her little Swifties have named it and have tried to do that in their attempt at like cosplaying her or whatever. It literally just means traditional, going back to roots, to your origin, to traditional things, to like, you know, the 1800s. That's what we can see from their style of everything. Like they're like Hannah Neeleman, not that I know I'm trying to put her aside, but the baking things from scratch, they always have like weird fucking ovens, and they're cooking in like a cast iron pot, and like there's no need. You're just going back to this tradition, and I feel like they don't even understand why. It is such a rejection of modern day society, going back to the 1800s. And that's exactly where the fault in it lies. Like, we are in the year 2024. Even if you want to spread your message, your word, you would have a much easier time when you're able to connect with people on a shared experience. Like, your children grow up with no foundation of anything they can like meet other people with and kind of bond on. They're like, I don't know that show. I don't know that reference. I don't know that song. I don't know that artist. And a lot of their friendships kind of start off as people that are like, oh gosh, let me take you under my wing. But could you see where that sets your kids up for potential danger? Like, you want your kids to be prepared for the world they're going to go into. And that's why it's very clear, like when you start to peel the layers away from the trad wife life and you realize it's just traditional gender roles, it's life like we were in the 1800s, medieval time shit, you realize it's just based in fear. The world is so scary. Advancements are scary. Modern shit is scary. And power and control. More kids, more people on my side, more people that I can stand and say, look who I've got power and control over. That's why they pose with their wife and children lined up, just like they do after a really nice hunting trip. What do? They stand there with their fish. They stand there with their bird or their lion or their bear, whatever, you know, and the bigger the prize, the bigger the man. He's such a, Gaston. That's what they're doing with their wife and kids. And they're just showing how much power and control they have over everyone. And the more beautiful the wife, going back to the comment earlier, the more beautiful your wife is, the more you're able to put pressure on her to keep her thin and in shape and makeup on and clothes and everything, no matter what, so that your male gaze is never disturbed by her natural state. She must always be perfectly made up for you. That's why all those parts and pieces are there. It's not necessarily her choice. It's her choice because, just like Kim says, going back to Plathville, there's a part where Micah has a conversation with his mom and asks her, they're finally having a drink. And she's like, I was never against drinking. I would drink, but your father didn't drink. So I just, kind of went along with what he did. And he said, well, but couldn't you have just said something to him? Couldn't you have just been like, hey, so I'm going to go have a drink, or I want wine? And she was like, no, I knew how he felt. If you don't understand fully what she means by that statement, you don't understand. You know how they feel. You know what's expected of you. It is based in fear, power, and control. And the greatest way to control somebody is with a look, is with, your posture, and just let them know. You don't have to look far to see the true heart of these types of men, these traditional men, these men who want these types of relationships, go look at the comments in my social media posts. Go check out my Instagram and check out any post where I talk about I'm a divorced woman and I'm happy and excited to be a divorced woman. The way these men tear me down in the comments and the disgusting things they say to me, that's exactly what they're gonna say and do to you when you step out of line. I've stepped so far out of line, and now I'm trying to entice and encourage other women to do the same, because you're gonna get there one way or another. And those are the nasty, disgusting things they say to me, and those are the things they expect of women. Like, don't be the leopard that got your face eaten off. Don't set yourself up. Like, when you side when you're a woman and you side with these men and you try to put women in your place as well, they're gonna put you in your place as well too. They do not side with you. Men have the power and the control. These types of traditional men who want this type of life and they want to show you their trophy, they will turn on you. Shit, Andrew Tate is feeling that now. He was the leader of all the alpha males, and look what they're doing to him now. They're calling him, they're doing all the mean, ugly shit they do to people. They're calling him, they're using racial slurs against him. Even he had to tweet out like, whoa, what's going on here? They will always turn on you. When you deal with ugly people, they're gonna be ugly to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, the shit our parents said to us growing up, you know, if it's a snake, trust it to be a fucking snake. If somebody's willing to use another person for their own delight and pleasure, expect that that's how they're gonna fucking treat you. You're just a fucking tool. And that's why the minute you step out of line, you're of no use to them. They will just like their prey when they've gone hunting, as soon as they're done with the little picture and using you up, eating all the meat, doing whatever it is they need to do, they toss you aside and keep on like nothing happened. You mean nothing to them. And other countries that have gone back to their traditional roots are now advocating for marriage for girls to be set at 9. I'm pretty sure it's Afghanistan, and the Taliban is trying to lower the legal limit in the country to marriage for girls age 9. And did you know that in America, there's still 38 states that have legal exceptions to allow for child marriage? So don't think you're so fucking safe it couldn't happen here. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know your opinions on the trad wife life, you know, as we continue to talk about it and peel it back. Do you watch the Plathville show? Because I am obsessed with that show. We watch that shit like clockwork when it comes out. Don't forget, you can head to the website, Emerging Motherhood, to get some merch, some stickers, a t-shirt, anything. I will continue to add designs and stuff to it, so please check back all the time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with me. And thank you for sharing your thoughts in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. I love you. It's a really nice day living in